Hello students, how are you? Now let us start straight with the topic today. That is topic work, life and leisure. I don't know what went wrong with this pen. Yes. So the topic for today is work, life and leisure. Now children, before I get into it, let me tell you we have to cover two topics for essay 1 and then 2 topics for your essay 2. So this topic, as it says, work, life and leisure. That is how we work, then how our life changed with the work patterns that we adopted, and when we are working, our life needs some sort of an entertainment to carry on with things smoothly. Here, the lesson has started with a beautiful story. The story is that there is a novel, the gods visit the earth. It is a novel written by Durga Charan Ray in 1880. Now, as Durga Charan Ray, the name Ray takes us straight away to a place called, yes, Calcutta. The writer belongs to this place. Here, what he says is that he talks about, in a very lighter way, he says that you have a god, Brahma, who is known as the creator, according to Hindu mythology. And he plans to visit Calcutta in a train. These gods, along with Brahma, they are amazed by the big city. What they decide is that when they see the buildings, the bridges, the tall museums, they say in a lighter way, well, I think we should also build these things like museums and high courts in heaven like this. Then these gods, they pay a visit in the markets, and even these gods are cheated there. It's a lighter way. The details you will go if you must read this book that is available in our library. Then the writer speaks about 2 sides of the city. One brimming with opportunities, one which has trade, which provides jobs, and other is the disturbing side. That is, you have cheats, you have poverty, you have thieves, you have dirt, and see, he puts it in a very beautiful literary way. He says, this city on one side has confusion, and on other side there is amazement. One side you have abundance of wealth, on the other side there is poverty. One side there is splendor, the other side there is dirt. One side it is all opportunities, and other side it is disappointment. So children, here the main concept is that how modern cities developed during past 200 years. That is, what are the changes that happened that made these cities develop? Why is Srinagar like this? And why not Kupwara? Why not Tral? When we come to at the local level. So, the historians have given us 3 historical ways. Now children, we will discuss 3 historical ways that shaped modern cities. Three historical ways that shaped modern cities. Number first is rise of industrial capitalism. Number second is during that period you had establishment of colonial rule over large number of countries, and number 3 was development of democratic ideals. Now I come to these points. We were growing, we had surplus food, we were now progressing, we were getting education, we were thinking of ways to improve ourselves. So we were shifting from the agrarian concepts, that is concepts where we would only get money or richer from agriculture products, and so we started moving towards the industrials. Concept of industrialization started coming up, and so your one factor that shaped your modern cities, that gave way, that changed them altogether, was these industries. This was the first one. Then, during that time, most of the countries were under colonial rules. That is, the big powers were subjugating these countries and keeping them under their belt and using their resources for their betterment. Then third is that along with this subjugation processes that we were having under the colonial rule all over the world, I'm not talking only about India, but side by side you had education, side by side you had money creeping up, side by side your quality of life was improving. So what happened is that there developed the concepts of democracy. People started working over them. People started thinking about issues. What is freedom? What is liberty? What is that? So I think you must remember them and then discuss your topic according to this. Then second is what we are going to discuss is that what are the characteristics of the cities? What makes this city? First of all, let me tell you the names of 3 cities. That is Or, Nepal, and Mohenjo-daro. Egypt, you have this one, this city, you have in Iraq, and here it is the India. So, all these, what you call ancient civilizations, first cities that got developed. And what did they have? They had more food supplies, they had better administrative network, they had better religious institutions, and there were some cities who were the metropolises or and then there were small urban centers. Children, did you get that? The historical processes, the 3 cities and the 2 cities which we know. That is the bigger ones and the smaller ones. Let us make it more simpler. Now this chapter discusses about 2 cities. That is the city which is the largest city of the world, and we will also discuss that the largest city of India, or the modern city of India. So you have the largest city of the world and we'll discuss modern city of Indian subcontinent. Which happens to be the largest city of the world? I give you first word. London, that's right. And modern city of Indian subcontinent would be Is that correct? That is your Bombay. Now what happened? We will take both the cities, study each one in detail. Now how did this modern city in England rise up? So your topic would be industrialization or rise of modern city in England. What happens? We go to the year when these changes were happening. We go to 1850s. Remember children, at that time, there was no difference. There was equality. That is, most of your Western countries were, they were largely, most of these countries were rural. Then, this is my first point of this topic. My second point would be that people were migrating to industrial cities. That is, migration was taking place to industrial cities. In 1851, what was happening is that more than 3/4 of the adults, get me clear, more than 3/4 of the adults who were residing in Manchester were migrants from rural areas. 3/4 adults living in Manchester, they were migrants. Is that clear? Then, one out of 9 people of England and Wales were living in London, which had at that time population of about 6,50,000 75,000. So 1 out of 9 people of England and Wales, what were they? They were living in London. And population of London was 6,75,000. Is that clear? That then they come to that in a span of 70 years. Your population in London city moved from 1 million to 9 million. Your population started increase, and then you have an historian by the name of Gareth Stedman Jones. Historian Gareth Stedman Jones. What does he say about London? He says it was a city of clerks. It was at that time a city of shopkeepers. It was city of skilled artisans. It was city of beggars. It was a city of sweated workers. And then last point is that in this topic is that 5 major industries were employing large number of people. And let me list these industries for you. Is that they were of clothing and footwear, printing and stationery, precision products, precious metals, motor cars and electric goods. Now I come to another topic, that is marginal groups. London was flourishing. London was moving ahead. London was growing richer. People were having work. But you got to discuss the other side of it. That is, the authorities found about that. In one side we were improving, but they listed about, in first point, 20,000 criminals. See children, things do not happen when we don't plan. When we plan and we then work according to the plan, make changes accordingly, address the issues at the proper time. That is why these people in London did it. And this is why we have a progressive place like that. So first point is that they did find out that at that time you had about 20,000 criminals there. Now, authorities, don't sleep over this matter. They get concerned. And then what they do is they start monitoring their activities. That is, what they are doing, what kind of criminal record are they carrying out with them, what are the reasons behind why they are having this lifestyle and not moving with the mainstream others who were progressing in one way or the other. So they show their concern and start monitoring their activities. Now, remember this, we must remember, when a society has to progress, it is not only the job of a policeman. Progress of a society takes place when there is contribution from all sides. That is, your cultural, your linguistics, your police, your social workers, they all contribute. Your writers, your teachers, everybody contributes, and then you erupt the evil at the bud. So, people started writing. They were put on job. There was a person by the name of Henry Mayhem. Henry Mayhem, he writes several volumes on London labour. And he finds that these petty criminals, some of them are really very petty. I mean, they do a job like stealing taps from the garden, or somebody has in a garden, there's a rope, on that are hanging clothes. These petty thieves take these clothes, hanging clothes, but he also found that there are some certain skilled cheats, pickpockets, who know their job, how to do it. So, the next, when you know the cause, only then you can act. So, in order to discipline the population, now came the disciplinary part. In order to discipline the population, what authorities ने क्या किया? They posed high penalties on people who were found guilty, who had made this as a habit. And they also took a humanitarian approach to those who really were in need of jobs. So, those jobs were given to those people who were deservingly poor. So, this is what they were doing. Now, there was another part, that is the women issue there. What happens is that in late 18th and 19th century, women were employed in factories. But that is, first women went to factories. There were handmade goods and all, they were employed there. But then we started moving towards technology. Technology meant that you used in your factories, machines came to be used. And at that time, women, they could not adapt themselves to this changing technology. Now children, this is not so now. I'm talking about 18th and 19th century, early 19th century. So what these women did is that because they were living, life was getting difficult, you had to have money when you had to live in these cities. So they started working as domestic helpers like that. But then you had world wars. And When you have a war, they started employing them in, so women were employed in wartime industries. So, a hurried recapitulation. You have criminals, you have authorities taking up the action, then you have people helping the authorities how to go about in solving the problem, and then it comes the action. That is how you discipline your population and how you pose them. You take both the approaches. You put your high penalties on one hand, and then the ways that you give jobs whom you think are deservingly poor. And then that is the women issue. You have factories, working women in factories, but then technology erupts. They're not able to take that, and so they go out because they have to work. They work as domestic helpers, and then you have the world wars. World wars, again, they are employed in wartime industries. Is that fine? Now, everybody was concerned that we got to work on these issues. There was another person, Andrew Mearns. He writes in The Bitter Cry of Outcast London that a child thief would earn more than a child who would work. बस एकदम पॉकेट मार दिया, 1,000 रुपया, 10,000 रुपया एक साथ, जैसा उसका लक हो. But if he had to work, or say even if they have to prepare matchstick, it would take weeks together. Then, so what was it? There were to be some moves to be made which would refrain the child from these habits. So what they did is they introduced 2 acts. That is Compulsory Elementary Education Act in 1870 and Factory Act in 1902, whereby children got disciplined. They were asked forcefully to enter the schools by virtue of these acts, and it did keep these children away from industrial work. Now, the topic that will follow this would be housing.